Welcome, everyone. We're so happy you could join us today. I'd like to introduce our very special guest, Shauna Blue Star Newcomb. Shauna is Shawnee, Lenape, and Zapotec. She is opening hearts and minds, sharing ancient wisdom for modern times as an international speaker, visionary healer, medium, and spiritual guide. Her profound universal messages allow us to navigate these times of transformation and the great evolutionary leap during this great shift that is upon us. Shauna guides seekers to connect with their inner authority, authentic power, intuition, and unique genius with insights from her teachings and courses from the Reverence Code and Sacred Feminine Rising. She is dedicated to a vision of healing for all peoples, beings, the planet, and future generations. Shauna, welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Dr. Barbara, it's very good to be here with all of you.
We're thrilled to be here with you. And Shauna, I'm wondering if you can just tell us a little bit about where you are in the world, how you came to be where you are with your work, and what brings us together today.
Sure, yes. I'd like to also begin with a short prayer, if that's okay. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and so I honor the Indigenous elders and community that I grew up with here. And although I'm Shawnee Lenape, Zapotec, and I have a lot of combinations of background and ancestry that I honor, but I really value the teachings of the elders that guided me from a young child. So that's been very foundational in my life for sure. I didn't grow up speaking our Lenape language, as many of our Indigenous peoples know. A lot of our grandparents were put into the residential boarding schools. And so to have the languages come back to us is a real blessing, and it brings a lot of joy just to have, it's like almost emotionally just joyful to be able to say anything in Lenape. So I love to share this short prayer with you. And I just learned this one recently, so it's close to my heart, and I'd love to share it with you. And I guess I would say it's a Lenape peace prayer. So I think it's very powerful and meaningful at this time. Wenteka gesheleming wita emil and dausoe. Wenteka gesheleming wita emil. Ketamaka lendawakan and dehink. Kuhana gesheleming kehelavanishi. Wichumike kendausoen. Milinen wala malsawakan, wala tanamawakan. Walangundui, Nitana Walangundui, Meokasit, Kuleke Heokan, Wenchi, Kikana Kahinen Geshiremi, Wendamalili Lasuwakan, Nipa Wenhai, Kilunok, Wenchich Kaski Walasien, Kiapana Kichi Kulate Naminen, Walangunditam. Mili nen ginko kanim gwesawakan, ginko ya hotawakan, wenchich kuatunin wenangundui, wanishi. Great Spirit, Creator, I call to you, come to us and stay with us. Feeling compassion in my heart and in my mind, Creator, truly we thank you. Help us, I call to you. Give us good health and happiness and peace. I am that peace Indian, and it's a good feeling because you watch over us, Creator. Teach me a song and uplift me, uplift us all so that we can live a good life, so that we can be truly happy. Let us have good friendship among all of us, and give us that great feeling for others, the great love so that we can know great peace. Wanishi, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that beautiful prayer.
Thank you. It feels good to say it. So I just feel very honored and blessed to have some of these words and teachings. And as I said, I didn't have that growing up. And my great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather were put into the residential boarding schools. And that's come up recently with my dad's work of the Doctrine of Discovery. and the papal bulls have come to light more. And his work of 40 years has become a great big focus in the world. So it's been good joining him in that way. But I also have my own work that I've been doing, and a lot of spiritual development, personal development over the years. And it wasn't always easy for me kind of coming into that path. It was actually very hard for me to come into that path because it was, I guess, all the scary unknowns and, feeling like maybe something's wrong with us when we first look into that. But the more that I surrendered and came into it, the more that I realized how powerful and beautiful and really natural this is for us to be coming into this time. And it's the way of our ancestors. And so I just really ground into that, and I celebrate that now. And I feel really good about all of the work that I'm doing with my father, and also in my own way, and the teachings of the Reverence Code that have come as a result of saying yes to this path. So that's a little bit more about my background.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. That helps us really connect with you in time and place and in a beautiful context for your work. And I'm wondering if you could share with us what it means to truly surrender to a spirit-led life and allow the magic of and miracles to flow and to guide you.
I guess I just really want to share with people coming into a place of surrender, because I think for the longest time, and so many of us, I feel like, also carry, whether we believe in past lives or not past lives, but I certainly feel that and have a sense of that for myself, of spontaneous memories that I can't really explain. So I definitely feel that inside myself. And so I feel like we carry this intergenerational trauma regardless of place or where our ancestry is from, all down through the ages, it's been passed down. And this is something that my dad and I speak to, but it is that trauma, the core wound that so many of us are feeling right now. And so no matter what manifestation, where your ancestry is, from one part of the world or the other part of the world, we're all experiencing it in our own unique way. And part of what I see that's so beautiful is allowing what has been taboo or forbidden or seen as strange or woo-woo or weird is now we can open to this. This is a time where we can celebrate. And yes, in the past, it has been dangerous even to be able to speak our languages and to celebrate and have our songs and ceremonies and do these things. But this is a time to, like, our ancestors, I really know and feel, and I experience messages, they're here guiding us, and they're saying, this is the time, this is what we've always wanted. And we're here celebrating you on this path. And so I just see it even more as a great honoring to our ancestors, to ourselves, and to the future generations, and to the planet that's so needed right now, this great healing, so that really honoring a coming together, because so many people are at odds, and there's this polarization of finger pointing, or you this and you that. And I see, if we can all just understand there's a core wounding here, but we're just all experiencing it in various manifestations. We're also experiencing the symptoms of all of these things that people are very much concerned about. We're concerned about racism. We're concerned about, sexual violence. We're like the Me Too movement. There's been all of these alarm bells and everything going on out there. But I feel like I've been saying for many years, as I've been speaking now, it's like the shadow is coming to the light in order for us to heal. And in order for us to come into it and have an awareness, it is important to really see the darkness for what it is, so that we can shine a light and also come into our sense of ourselves and seeing each other, to be a sacred witness to each other, to say, I see you, I feel this wounding too, but I feel it in my own way. I honor that you feel wounded too, but in your own way. And this way we have a way to move together into the healing that's so necessary right now. So that's a big part also that I feel really passionate about for people. And it brings a little emotion, because I just see it's such a powerful and beautiful time to really honor this. And then the more that we can do that, we're able to then come into the true healing that's needed. And so it is about learning to see the darkness and the light at this time. And that's part of the great shift. And so I've been getting these messages for probably the last 10 years at least, but and literally about the great shift and this time that many of our elders are saying we're in the time of the living prophecies. And so there's all of these prophecies that the elders have talked about, and we can read about them, but it's also, how do we navigate these times? People are like feeling all this, well, I don't know, my life doesn't make sense anymore. And so that's part of the work as well that I have come into, as working in healing work and saying yes to honoring my gifts of intuition and how I can be, how I've learned to walk a spirit-led life. And now I can be able to help others and guide them in their own path, to celebrate them and honor them in their gifts. So I feel really good about that.
Yeah, just beautiful. So what I'm really hearing in this is that this is the time for all of us, not just Indigenous people who are the holders of these prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm Shasta, Upper Klamath Shasta from Northern California. My people
Mm-hmm.
all honor Mount Shasta as our sacred mountain.
Yes.
And so, for our people, we also have our prophecies. And so it's the time that they are upon us. And that is calling forth our personal healing medicines as well, is what I'm hearing.
Definitely. That, I feel like we're coming into this place of remembering, relearning, but there's an unraveling happening. And so we're all feeling this on a really deep personal level. And yes, it is about all peoples. And certainly I honor the ways of our ancestors, of the original nations and peoples, because there's this connection with the earth, this connection with the land. But I also speak to what I mean by the reverence code, is looking way, 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 way back, deeper into history. And that was a burning question for me when I started going into this work of the doctrine of discovery and the papal bulls. And certainly that was a systematic use of going out into the world, and there was this domination, dehumanization that was set out onto the planet. But what was before? What was in that time that was before is what I hear in some of my messages. And how far back did that go? And the original spirituality for all peoples, no matter where we were from, even Indigenous Europeans, which sometimes sounds like an oxymoron to some people, but that is true, way, way, way back. So how can we honor that there is that original spirituality and come back into it? And yes, it's the personal time and it's the collective time that we work together.
Yeah. And just so people are familiar with this idea, of the doctrine of discovery and how significant that was to the change that occurred among our Indigenous people worldwide.
I can speak a little bit about that, definitely. So there were papal bulls that were issued in the 14th and 15th century, and they were issued by popes in the Vatican that then also worked in conjunction with the monarchies. But those Vatican papal bulls state, for instance, to conquer, vanquish, and destroy all Saracen pagans and enemies of Christ, to put them into perpetual slavery, and to take all of their lands, possessions, and gold. And so I just see that this then set out, and those were issued over and over and over. And it really was, they say conquest, but my dad says that there's kind of like this translator that when you look at the word conquest, it's actually domination. And so what does that actually unleash onto the planet? And when you remove our original nations and peoples from our sacred lands and our sacred sites, and you remove our cultures and our languages, and you take away what was upheld in balance and harmony for time immemorial, then what happens to the planet? So then you see, as a direct result, all of these different things that are happening now. I connect the dots to, this isn't something in history like, oh, well, that was years, centuries, millennia ago. That's too bad for those Native Americans. It's something we're all experiencing this right now as a direct result of these things that happened and what was unleashed in the mindset of conquest, the mindset of the chosen people, for instance, that people can come in and say that there's nobody, if there are no Christians living on an entire continent, even though there's millions of people that have been holding the balance and harmony, then what happens? And so then that is genocide. That then, you see millions of people that have been slaughtered, and then also the languages, all of the sacred sites are less and less connection with so many original nations and peoples. This was all throughout the planet though. So now that this is coming to light in recent years, I feel it's very powerful history that so many people, when they watch my father's film, it's called The Doctrine of Discovery, Unmasking the Domination Code, people say, I have this many master's degrees and I'm so well educated, and I've never learned this in history. I've never learned this in school or at university. Why is that? Well, this is because this is obscure knowledge that wasn't known, but it is very much true to the historical understanding of what happened. It's just a matter of people not knowing it until now. So I feel like, though, the more that we can be in compassionate witnessing of what has happened, and again, looking at the shadow is part of our healing right now. So I feel very good about that work, as well as I feel like it's all part of the healing work that we're doing together.
Yeah, so it not only is the weight of history and the doctrine of discovery and everything that's emerged from that, not only affecting Native people, Indigenous people worldwide, but now people who are not Indigenous, who would not be considered traditionally Indigenous, acknowledging that originally, no matter where we came from, we were all originally Indigenous to some place, right?
Mhm.
And to a creative universe in which we emerged into that indigeneity. Yes.
I
And
believe, yeah, I as well, like this earth spirituality. I don't necessarily identify as a shamanic practitioner. I think, as many of us in quote North America, we there's certain things around that we don't necessarily identify, or there's some challenges with that. But I know other people in parts of the world, that's how they identify earth-based spirituality. But definitely, all peoples had that connection with the earth at one time, and so it's definitely us coming back to that wherever we're from. And part of that is this remembering and walking in this new way that's so needed and necessary on the planet right now. And it is the remembering, the honoring, rather than coming from that place of domination mindset and conquest, and putting the sword on the altar. We're putting the sacred feminine on the altar. We're putting nature on the altar once again, and we're honoring all peoples in this way. So I think this is the beauty of this time, is really honoring the diversity of all peoples and seeing that beauty that can come together in a really beautiful celebration. That's part of this great shift right now.
yeah. And so tell us more about the sacred feminine, putting the sacred feminine on the altar. What does that look like now?
I feel that so much of the work that I feel very passionate about, just looking at, again, like the deeper history, when I walk people through, I have the reverence code course that I do, it's a change makers course, and I see that the beauty is being able to go into kind of deep into the shadow and look at that, and look at those codes of the domination. How did we get where we are? How did all of this come to be? Is this just human nature? That's what people say. Well, it's just human nature. People are just like that. But was that true? And so that was my burning question. But the more that I looked back and deeper into history, certainly that was the systematic method that has been used over centuries to create civilization, but that is also in the domination mindset. And going back even further into Neolithic, Paleolithic times, these are the times of what I see is such beautiful honoring of women, honoring of the sacred feminine, and not having any, there's no sense of hierarchy, like, oh, it's men up here and women up here. It's a natural balance and harmony that has been upheld. And so I feel like that we're coming back into this rebalancing that is so necessary and needed. And that's part of our connection with nature as well, that we don't take too much. We don't go out and say, oh, it's about how much resources and gold and digging and oil and all of these things that, everything is about profit. That's the domination mindset. And so we're coming away from that. And these systems are kind of falling to the wayside, and people are saying, well, this is scary. What are we going to do? This is our reality. But it is about learning a different way. And so I feel like this unraveling is part of the recognition that this has not been something that is sustainable, that can move forward in a good way. And so we're learning and relearning to come back to ourselves. And part of that as well is walking in the spiritual way that has also been really taboo in many ways. People have not celebrated the spiritual. And certainly I see a difference as well from religion and spirituality. And I see that spirituality is really coming back to our own selves and our own connection, divine connection with creator and with the spirit of the land as well, and nature in our own way. Connecting with the ancestors, connecting with spirit is part of this beautiful time. These things have not been even allowed to a great extent. They were illegal in the United States. So, you know, there's certain things that have come over a period of time to make big changes for us in many ways. And so I see the great shift in coming, honoring the sacred feminine is also honoring the sacred masculine. So there's a rebalancing there. So I just celebrate the men that are doing their good work in the world too. It's not necessarily saying, oh, it's only about women, but definitely it is about women coming into our power and men coming even more into their hearts. And so that's something I just really celebrate.
What a beautiful rebalancing there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm wondering if there are some key insights about how to relax and work with spirit as we pursue this idea of the balance, the rebalancing within the context of this great challenge that we're in. And how can we focus in particular ways in our daily life as practitioners who are trying to reground and seeking to, reinstate our spiritual balance and our personal spirituality with the earth itself?
Definitely. Well, I mean, number one is always for me, I love to take nature walks. It's like, where would I be if I didn't have that? So that's definitely, even in the modern world that we live in, no matter where we are, if we have to live in the city or something like that, you can always get out and try going to a park, wherever you can be in nature, even if it's walking on the earth, sitting on the earth, connecting with a tree. These are beautiful ways, but definitely as a centering grounding practice. And I think so many people in the way of the world and all these multitasking and even coming online, there's so much going on, the busyness, there's a lot of tension and all of the things in the media, the bad news, the kind of propaganda of scary things, it causes a lot of anxiety and unease, and that can lead to dis-ease. So I just see these are the important places where we can just come into our connection with Mother Earth and just kind of like let it go, just come into this place. I know even when like we're feeling heavy, we're feeling it's too much, I can't do this, I can't take all this, we can go into however it is. Maybe we honor the waters and we go down to the river, we say our prayers and we say our gratitude there, or we sing a song there. You know, these are the little ways that we can just connect, but definitely coming into any way of connecting with the earth and nature, that's definitely a big grounding practice for me that I honor and recommend for everybody. And then the other one I would say is anybody that's working with spirit, because it's not something I was very open to as a young person. I was scared, like, oh, it's scary, I have these spirits, they come to me literally like they talk, and then there's all these other messages in the world, oh, that's crazy, you can't hear spirit, you know, then you're a crazy person, or this negative kind of input. So really honoring that for ourselves, that it is real, and but also having the boundaries that like spirit can't just come in and start like talking to you when you're sleeping, that kind of thing, because that's happened to me and I think other people too. So honoring the boundaries to say this is what I'm okay with and this is what I'm not okay with, because we can certainly do that. That's something that you have the power to do at all times, to know your own authentic authority, your own sense of your own power. And I think that's a big part of this time right now. But also, so practicing boundaries, but also saying yes to saying, yes, I honor the ancestors, I honor spirit, I honor creator. However, the guidance can bring me into my own work in a good way, and expressing gratitude in that way for the support that is here with us. Because I feel like we also have free will. So I've also understood, like, if we say no, they can't help us. Like, we're not open to the help. We're doing it all on our own. And I've had that too, where I was like, I don't want any of this. It's too much. And then I felt like, oh no, I got depressed. I got anxiety. I don't have any help. Like, what's going on? Well, because I said I didn't want any help. I said it, so I got what I wanted. So it's learning this balancing. I'm ready for this much, but not too much, and just saying yes, but expressing gratitude is another big part of that reciprocity, for the help to come in a good way, and knowing that we're working with really healthy energies, and that matches us in our vibration of where we're at as well, what we carry in our heart.
Mhm. Yeah, so it sounds like not only can we find support systems in the human world, and in our daily practices, support ourselves and our own well-being and get regulated with nature, as you tapping into nature as a source, but also the other than human world, right? The more than human world, and how and acknowledging that also as a community of spirits, and a
Mm-hmm.
direct way that we can rebalance ourselves and have a sense of what to do and how to
Definitely.
proceed. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I feel like we're being guided, we're receiving support, and we can say yes to that in the seen and unseen realms. However, to allow us to really come into our own sense of purpose and path in the world at this time. So that's a big part of it.
And how can those of us that are curious and interested in shamanism as a practice and a form of wisdom honor those original ways of being in a respectful way now?
Well, the way that I feel like, if there's a way to work with original peoples, that's always the best way, to be able to connect with specific cultures. I think that's always beneficial. But I feel like it's also, there's many aspects to this, because if there are ways that you can connect with your own original ancestry and the land, that is the most profound, beautiful way, because I feel like there's deep connections with the land that, like, are on an unseen level, that you're able to literally have dreams or messages come through when you're literally connecting on the land of your ancestors. So I think that's a big part of us coming into this time of really honoring our own, I guess, indigenous original nations throughout the planet, wherever you may be from. But I really feel that it's about honoring the earth at this time as well, and those sacred connections with the unseen realms and spirit. And so the more that we can come into our own sense of guidance and our intuition, trusting the spirit-led life, that's where a lot of our connections come from. The thing that I think is very beautiful is, regardless of colonization, regardless of institutions, and putting our young peoples in the boarding schools, and forcing us to be cut our hair, and not speak our languages and be removed from our cultures, but yet spirit has gone through the generations and, like, is alive within me generations later, and I didn't have my elders there to speak my language, and yet spirit was there speaking to me, spirit was there. So I feel like this is part of it, like, we're all being guided in this way, and it is about saying yes. There are those that may say you can't do this or you can't do that, but I feel like it's about each of us honoring our own path, and the spirit-led path that is true to our own heart and to our own guidance right now. So I think that's difficult. The difficulty is when people are pointing fingers and saying, like, I feel like they're kind of like policing each other, like, you can't do this and you can't do that, or you're not indigenous enough because of this or that. And these are things that are petty in my, I mean, I see, like, this is part of the domination code again. So in this time of, yes, we're all wounded, in this time of we all have intergenerational trauma, and we're all working through the wounds, and we're all working through the domination code and how we get through it and move through it, and we witness it and see each other, and we say, I hold you and I honor you and your wounding, and I honor my wounding. But we're in this time of moving forward for healing and transformation and how we can bring peace and love for the future generations, for our planet and Mother Earth. So how can we come together in a beautiful, sacred way to honor each other and what is moving through us to be instruments of change? So this is kind of, I don't know, it's a roundabout way answer to your question.
Oh, I see that as being a very complete and heartfelt answer to that question, and probably, addressing what a lot of people may have, running through their minds about what to do and what not to do right now, because what this gives is a sense of direction and purpose in the work of the healing. And so, considering then what you've offered and what you've shared so far today. Um, what is one thing that you would like to leave us with today, or leave our viewers with, that would be a next step that they can make these changes in their own lives?
Well, there's a couple different things, but I wanted to be able to share. Well, I'll share just like one memory, actually, that just how the power of working with spirit and even like calling on spirit in our lives when we're in kind of, I would say, like desperate times or really hard times. And I mean, I'm not saying that it will always be the case, but I had one time where I was I had I don't know if maybe I had a torn ligament in my leg. I don't know, but I wasn't able to really go to the doctor for it. I didn't want to have surgery, and so I wasn't able to walk for a very long time on my leg and on my knee. And so I just originally felt like a popping, or I heard a popping sound. I felt this popping sound, and so I knew something was really wrong. And it was going lingering and lingering, and I said, I can't live with this. I can't go on like this. So I really called out to spirit, and I said, I ask for healing in this way, like if there's anything that can be done so that I can move my legs again, so that I can walk, so that I can run again. I have, so that I can have this quality of life that I need. And that night I had this really powerful dream, like a very, very vivid dream, as though I was there. And I was on an operating table, and there were the big lights, like I was in an operating room. And there were spirit. There was like a man in like a doctor kind of a surgery, and they were working on. There was two or three different people. They were working on my leg and my knee, maybe my leg, and I just felt like I was being, worked on. And then I woke up in the morning and I didn't have the pain anymore, and I didn't have the problems, and I had to be careful. But it was like you just got out of surgery and you needed to take some time. But these are the kinds of things that people might say, well, that's far-fetched, I don't believe you. But that's what happened to me. I really truly believe it. These are the things that can happen when we call on spirit, when we live with faith, when we live with a surrender to what's possible. I wanted to share a short message, but I also would love to invite people to say, I am offering my reverence code course coming up in the fall, in October, the beginning. So anybody that would love to join and learn more about this work of the Doctrine of Discovery. My dad also does some co-facilitating with me, and that's always very eye-opening for people with his scholarly 40 years of knowledge and as a legal scholar. And certainly his film is very powerful to watch. And really working into the reverence code and what that means for each person in their own unique path, celebrating your own gifts, and really learning to thrive in this way, to say yes to the spirit-led life. So that, I guess, would be my call to action and invitation, rather, to have people learn more about this work and thriving in these times of the Great Shift.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Sean, is there anything else that you would like to leave us with today?
Yes, I would like to share one of the messages that have come through about the Great Shift. I think I'll share this message that's quite uplifting. I called it A New Direction, and I feel like it brings a lot of hope and optimism for people. So that's always good in these times when people are like, oh, I don't know, I can't handle any more bad news. I mean, it is, though, I say, and my dad would say as well, it's hard to look at the quote negativity or the shadow, but it is part of our healing at this time, and we do want to look at the positive. But it really is about like seeing the yin and the yang at this time, really looking at both. But this is called A New Direction, and I don't actually know what it's not like this is something I just made up. It's what came to me, and I hear spirit, like I'll hear in my ear, like I guess I'm like a scribe. And I usually write it out longhand. I don't type it usually. So this is the message. Just taking a nice deep breath in and letting it out. The time has come for us to take ourselves out of the chaos and go in our own direction. This is about following a different path, and there are some who will not like it, and many who will not understand at first. Yet this is an important first step in making the change. It is important to know in your heart that this is the path you want to follow, and that it is a strength you find within yourself. It is hard to go away from the pack and carve your own trail, but this is necessary for change to occur. When you do this, do so with your heart leading the way, and listen for your inner guidance to know what is true and what to leave behind. This is about finding what is essential and true and taking nothing else too seriously. There is much that can be left behind, and it will serve you in the long run. Once you find this place inside yourself, you will feel much lighter and find more strength and certainty. This is a good first step. There are some who will see that you are changing in this good way and notice right away that this is something they want for themselves too, and it will be a pattern to follow. This is also a necessary part of the process to have people learn this shedding of unwanted skin, to reach their inner strength. It is a beautiful process when people find this place together, for it is a sign of good changes coming. This small trickle will then start to become more, and people will come to see what is happening and how this is working. Some will be intrigued and excited, and others will be upset by the changes and want nothing to do with it. It is not for the others to decide for anyone what is right or wrong. It is only that they find the changes for themselves and accept them in. It will all work out for the best. This is also another good first step. Now, once more, people come to this new way of being with lightness in their heart and the sense of renewal. This is when things truly begin to shift. This is when more and more people begin to feel there is something happening, and the messages begin to spread, and more people will begin to wake up to what they felt was missing before. They will let go of past angers, hatreds, and hurts and sorrows and begin anew. This is a time of renewal and to celebrate that there is indeed a shift. This is a time of coming together and support and community, and people begin to see the error in their ways. This is a truly powerful time. Next, we see that people find this less and less appealing to be in a world of chaos or violence or fighting, and their hearts really open up in a new way. This is when things start to shift on a large scale, and people come together to make big changes. There is no tolerance for hate, bigotry, slaughtering, hunting for sport, racism, and all the isms and ignorant choices that come from fear in the world. Suddenly, there is a new ideal for coming together, not about fighting the separateness. This is a new time of deep acceptance for differences and a realization of oneness on a bigger scale.
Shauna Blue Star Newcomb, thank you so much for this beautiful and essential message that addresses our journey. I want to thank you for your offering today and honor you and your time. What a wonderful session. This is one of those ones that our viewers will want to go back to over and over again, to listen to this message, to take it to heart as it was offered from your beautiful heart. What a great session. Shauna, thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Wanishi. Blessings to all of you.